freedomtalkradio.co.uk.
Let's go!
This is the most diverse, most amazing, one of the funniest radio stations you could ever listen to on the internet. I've heard so much stuff from the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights.
The politics, the non-politics, the schmolitics, whatever you want to call them.
It's great.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
I was...
Look again. Freeze it.
This isn't the Matrix.
No. It's another training program designed to teach you one thing. If you are not one of us, you are one of them.
What are they?
Sentient programs. They can move in and out of any software still hardwired to their system. That means that anyone we haven't unplugged is potentially an agent. Inside the Matrix, they are everyone, and they are no one. We have survived by hiding from them, by running from them. But they are the gatekeepers. They are guarding all the doors, they are holding all the keys, which means that sooner or later, someone is going to have to fight them.
Someone.
I won't lie to you, Neo. Every single man or woman who has stood their ground, everyone who has fought an agent has died. But where they have failed, you will succeed.
Why?
I've seen an agent punch through a concrete wall. Men have emptied entire clips at them and hit nothing but air. Yet their strength and their speed are still based in a world that is built on rules. Because of that, they will never be as strong or as fast as you can be.
What are you trying to tell me? That I can dodge bullets?
No, Neo. I'm trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to.
Hi, this is Tim Clark. Welcome to End Times Matrix News. This is the Friday edition. We are going to be covering some breaking stories today. And the title for this show that I'm putting on is Prepare Now. There seems to be a push going on right now, a change in the feelings out there throughout the internet community and through certain leaks and things, that things are progressing quicker than some had thought. As you remember, when I first started this show, the main premise of the show was that this is probably going to be the shortest show in history, in the sense that that's how close we are to the end of freedom of speech. That's how close we are to the end of the Republic of the United States. That's not doom and gloom. That is just looking exactly at what we are dealing with as far as our government, our financial circles, the world move towards a tyrannical, communist, global New World Order, satanic system. And these folks who are directing this from behind the scenes are on a timetable. So we're seeing the timetable. Doesn't matter what you see with the talking heads talking about, will Hillary run in 2016, or will Santorum or any of these other characters. That all this stuff is distraction. There's only a few things you should really focus on, but when it comes to the corporate mainstream media, you really shouldn't listen to hardly anything they say. Now, every now and then, and the formula for deception is sprinkle some truth in with a lot of lies. So they keep you captivated to some degree on some stories because they can be truthful about certain things, but they steer you around the main issue or the problem that we're dealing with. So I'm going to just say that this show is about unplugging from the matrix. The show is about stepping out of this sideshow of illusion that is the Wizard of Oz story here, the fantasy land that they've concocted around us to keep us in a cage without bars. But they're quickly trying to move us in the direction where every thought we think and every move we make is categorized or recorded, such as what the NSA is doing with their metadata. Recording everything you do from your heartbeat to your pulse rate to your if you're sweating, through putting tattoos on your neck that can read your subvocal reflexes from your brain that can, like lie detectors. Everything is about invading your privacy. Everything is about taking over and destroying the world of privacy. And it doesn't matter what they say. They're just bull-faced lying to you. If you listen to Catherine Sebelius or somebody talk about Obamacare, they talk about how it's a success right to your face. These are the folks that believe that the ends justify the means, which means lying to people doesn't matter as long as you get to where you want to go. And where they want to go doesn't have anything to do with freedom. Freedom is a threat to this globalist system, is a threat to these Rothschild, Rockefeller, blue blood Satanists who are working on behalf of setting up this one world global government. And so they're taking down America, and the middle class is the target, because what they have to do to the middle class, which are the mom and pop store owners that own pizza franchises or Burger Kings or who are the doctors. A lot of people don't focus on who's the best source for talking about healthcare other than the doctors. Who are the people that mothers and fathers want their children to grow up to be the tops of our society is the well-trained doctors who are reimbursed, and they have single-handedly destroyed the healthcare system. And think about all those folks that are in pre-med or that are in medical school who are 3 or 4 years into their medical residencies, not residency, but their programs. And they're right in the middle, and they're seeing us go into this communist single-payer system. Because there's no way around it. This Obamacare was set up to fail. It was just a way of steering the herd, getting people to think that they're going to try to help us, which is always the communist ploy. The communist ploy is to say, here's free candy, come and get it. The big bad rich people, they got all the candy, and don't you want some of the candy? And they always dangle the candy out there, and then you give up your rights, and then you don't get your candy, and then they're, here come the eugenicists, and you realize that the people who were pushing all the communist programs were the super wealthy, the billionaires, the Rothschild trillionaires. You realize that it is the people at the very top that push fascism and push communism, all to get people to revolt, to lose their freedoms, and end up under police states. So this show is called Prepare Now. And the reason we're saying prepare now is that people of all Christian backgrounds are definitely feeling a impressing of the Holy Spirit that things are coming to a head, and leaks from people are starting to focus on some things to do with the financial market. So the number one thing I just wanted to talk people so that you understand the concept of prepping. prepping, as far as putting aside material goods, material possessions, material anything, is what is generally followed by most people. And there's several good preppers who go through the 300 items you must have in a crisis. But the point I want to get out to you is this: that we are in the end times. The number one preparation that people should make is to understand that they have been lied to by this system. They have been lied to by their schools. They have been lied to by the banking system. They have been lied to by these politicians in Washington who are a one-party political power. The American people, or the middle class, is going to be, what should I say? They're going to have their assets and their possessions taken from them post-martial law. So all these commercials you see about buy gold, prepare for your future, prepare for your retirement, how much should I have in my portfolio, when gold and silver is your best friend during a downturn. Those all basically could be smarter choices than paper. But the point is, you're missing the whole picture. Where that is partially true, that's a partial truth, that metal assets will hold value. The point we're missing here is that we're post-martial law. There are no rules, in the sense that if I'm sitting on 300 tons of gold, the military can roll up on me and say, that's our gold now. Okay, that's happened before in America with in the 30s with gold confiscation. So what I'm trying to say to you, they're partially correct. These things hold value. That's right. But the people collapsing the system are the ones that set the gold prices. They're the ones that hoard the gold. They're the ones that have robbed Fort Knox and drained the United States of any metal liquidity assets. So you are looking at a situation that once martial law is in place, they can shoot you. They can take you could prep all you wanted to. You could have a whole neighborhood of prepped houses with food and everything in it. And they can just come in and set it all on fire, shoot you, and say, nobody can hold us accountable for it. Because under martial law, there is no consequences to anything we do. We can take your stuff. We can shoot you. So the point is, what should you be preparing for? And the main point is to prepare spiritually. This is the last stop. This is the last days of where people are going to be able to accept Jesus Christ. At a point in the future, there will be no more. You will be in the tribulation period. That is the period where the chains are released from all the hordes of hell and Satan and his fallen angels, and they will not be restrained. Right now, he is restrained to a certain degree, where the Holy Spirit is still working in the globe with the Bible-believing Christian population that has the indwelling of Jesus Christ. The point here is that the rapture event that will occur in the future, you will see a removing of the Holy Spirit as a sense of protection on humanity. Then the tribulation period is a period of wrath. And I don't think people understand this. They think that my Jesus would never do anything like that. But the point is, there is a real there is law and order, and there is justice. And since we're in America right now, we are seeing no justice as far as we see the criminals are running things. The banksters are suiciding all kinds of bankers. We have we're counting right now at around 8 people who have been suicided mysteriously from J.P. Morgan. And of course, if I flip on Fox News, how many shows have I heard about the J.P. Morgan suicided bankers? I hear nothing, and I don't hear anything from anybody else. That should convince you that the media outlets are there to suppress, to control, to feed the state political line, and but they will, if they can, they will put out partially true stories, and that's where people get slip up. That's where people get they go, well, that was a true story, and you go, yes, that was a true story. But it's sprinkled in among a bunch of other stories, and their favorite technique is to not report a story at all, so they don't have to deny it later on. So what we're dealing here is, number one, you need to prepare spiritually. It means if you have not accepted Christ, you need to accept Christ as your Lord and Savior. This is a game of souls. This is my premise from the beginning of this show. It is all about your soul. The Bible says, if a man inherits the whole world but loses his soul, what is that? What has he gained? The point is, the soul is equated with a value, with a wealth that is equated with the complete wealth of the globe. I mean, when they're using the term whole world, they're talking about equating your soul with the whole world. It says, so what if you get the whole world if you lose your soul? So the most highly valued prize in existence is your soul. And you have a choice to serve those that follow Satan and the fallen angels, or to serve Christ and follow his way. Of course, I think you can hear my herd of animals in the back having fun, probably barking at ducks or something. Sorry about that, but I'll proceed anyways. They'll quiet down in a minute. So the emphasis is on your soul. This should become your number one priority. The Bible also says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be given unto you. What it's saying there is that the kingdom of God should be your number one priority. All the other things of life fall below that, okay? And the point of that also is that if I go seeking out everything in my own power, if I go seeking out the world and things that I value, you'll find that it really doesn't amount to a hill of beans in the eternal framework of life and what we were put here for. We are put here to basically, this is dealing with our fallen nature in the flesh. We're put here to choose God above everything else. And that's really what we're put here for. We're put here to understand that God is the creator. I am the created, and he wants the best for me. Okay? The Satan character, the Lucifer, the psychotic cherub, is this fallen creation. And he is a fallen creation that rebelled through free choice. And what he's doing is that he hates humanity so much, he wants to destroy God's creation, or the image bearer. And so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at that he will tell the Rothschilds, or he will tell the Rockefellers, that you will evolve into gods, that I will bless you in my kingdom on earth, that we will defeat Yahweh, and all this stuff. And these people believed him because they lusted after, just like Eve fell, for greater knowledge or greater wealth or greater anything, fame, fortune, any of these kinds of things. Anything that people fall for, which is very much promoted by the United States. These are the things that Satan promises his followers. I believe at a certain point in time, after you have gone through this Luciferian infiltration into your soul and into your body, I believe at a certain time you become what's known as a reprobate. You have a reprobate mind. You have denied the existence of God. You have denied the existence of Christ, the Creator. You have sealed the door there on the Holy Spirit and have made it so that you will not repent. And I think this is what we see with the people who are the skull and bones people. Some people ask me, why do they seem normal? And if you know things about mind control and the occult and the fracturing of personalities, the dissociative disorder that goes on in the occult arena, anybody who's interested in that kind of thing can study the Black Awakening with Russ Dizdar, where he talks about the satanic super soldiers that will be unleashed, these demonically charged personalities that come out of people that will be unleashed to create chaos, and out of the order, order will come out of the chaos, and it's the new satanic order. Satan has had dominion over the earth because he was thrown out of the upper heavens, and the point of he was given this dominion for a time. It's been a time. His judgment's already been carried out. If you look at God, he transcends past, present, and future. He's already been judged. Everything's already. We're just in the middle of linear time in which we exist. God does not live in linear time. He is, so he transcends all these boundaries. So what we're dealing with here is that Satan's time is coming to an end. He has to accelerate his plans. He has to lie. He has to deceive. He has to have demonic possession of people at key positions throughout the globe in these governments, so that he can deceive the population, so that he can get their plan rolling. And that's why we come to prepare now. So what we want to talk about today, as far as material, we talked about spiritual preparation. You have to get saved. Those who are not saved, who do not accept Christ, believe that Christ is the Messiah with their whole being, that He is the Messiah. He forgives. He is the final sacrifice for all our sins. When you accept Christ as your Savior, He will come and indwell you, and you become one of His children. Okay? The point of that is that people who do not have the indwelling of Jesus Christ through His Holy Spirit, these people will go through the tribulation. And this is a period set aside for wrath. Okay? Wrath means just these people have violated the law and are not remorseful, will not take the free gift of getting out of from under the penalty that they brought upon themselves, and the whole world will be judged for this, for the sin that has saturated the globe, from all the murders and wars and everything that's seedy that can be done, that has been done. Every disgusting thing that you could possibly think of, the judgment, there is going to be judgment for that, okay, on the people who are unrepentant and will not accept Christ as their God. Now, the politically correct world that we're trapped in right now will say things like that's unfair, or how can He be the only way, and all this. Well, He says He is the only way, okay? He's the way, the truth, and light. No man comes to the Father but by me. He does not say you can go over to Buddha, or you can go over to Muhammad, or any of these ways. And the destruction of the modern church has occurred to where you just have this gobbledygook, New Age, Freemason garbage that has been dribbled into our society. The Freemasons are at the head of this universalist movement. Universalism just means it's all good. Everybody can come to the table. Whatever you believe is good. Everything you believe is good. And they get you there. And what people don't understand about Freemasonry is that they notoriously, one of their main methods is lying to everybody that's under them in their own order, and they feel totally justified in lying to anybody who's not a Freemason. So you got this collection of liars, and they're sitting there trying to act like we do good deeds. Look at all these hospitals and stuff and all that. We do good deeds. Well, yeah, even cocaine lords in South America build baseball fields for their hometowns. But are they doing, you're working in deception. You're working behind the scenes to do something that the public isn't privy to. And this was the whole point. This was the whole point of why America had a backlash against the Masonic Freemasons early in the 1800s with the anti-Mason party when that was formed. And these people were smart. They were saying, we got wolves in sheep's clothing here that have a completely different agenda than what we're wanting to promote. We're wanting to promote individual liberty and freedom for people. These guys are wanting to get some kind of ancient Luciferian agenda completed, which is totally anti-biblical, is totally satanic. And whether they know it or not, at some point the whole thing is about deception. Even the people at the top, Albert Pike, all these guys. Ben Franklin was the head of the Masonic lodges in Paris and France and things like that. At that level, you understand the Luciferian agenda. At that level, you understand that Lucifer is the good guy in their book, okay? That means Ben Franklin and Albert Pike and all these guys are sitting there, they're in hell, because there is no remorse from these people. They are promoting that they chose their path. They chose this way. Franklin was a member of the Hell's Fire Club. I mean, people want to just put terms like deist out there, like, oh, okay, he believes in something that's kind of out there. Well, what's the difference to that and what Washington used to call the grand architect of the universe? The grand architect of the universe is just more universalism of a generic God with many names. And the God with many names in human history is Lucifer. He's the one that goes from town to town with different names, Dionysius or, Osiris or Apollyon. He runs around as Zeus and all these other things. He's always changing his name to get into a different culture to still preach the same garbage, which is give me your soul or kneel to me, worship me, and I'll give you stuff and I'll give you whatever you desire. Same plan over and over. We are right now down in this part of the country. Just in case I cut out on this broadcast at some point, we're having kind of like tornado watches just north of me. So if we lose connection at some point, I'll just pick up next week. But you never know with these fronts coming through the East Coast here, what kind of bad weather you're going to get. So that's what we need to do as far as prepping. Okay, there's been a very big push that we need to be spiritually prepared for what's coming right now. And we have reports coming out. Len Leaz did a report on Before It's News. And Pack Alert is also picked up on a DHS report regarding credible reports that people are picking out saying DSH agent reveals U.S. to collapse within 6 weeks. The point with these stories and with all stories is that some are disinformation, some are accurate. You have to become a good discerner of who has credibility and who does not. And so this was coming from a DHS person who brought forth some information that the time frame for the coming apart or the coming off of the wheels of the United States government was going to occur. The financial collapse is probably going to occur somewhere within the next 6 weeks. So people are putting out warnings about get your cash out of the bank and all that. And I know people get hysterical whenever you talk about money, because money, at the end of the day, money is the only sense of control that people seem to have in our culture. So if your debit card doesn't work or your dollar bills are worthless overnight, you can just imagine the anxiety and the freaking out that people will do, because especially the folks who never prepped at all for any of this stuff. So when you get reports like these, it will happen at some point. They can collapse the system basically when they want to. They could have technically for, decades, honestly. Because if you actually believe in the reports that we were bankrupt in 1933, that our gold reserves had been all taken out of the country following the collapse of Wall Street in 29 and the Great Depression of 1930s. That was brought on by the globalist bankers, and certain people profited in that. Even the Kennedys profited in that time period. So the insiders profit, and the peasants, they get squashed. And so basically what we're talking about here is that we got several credible things, and what makes it credible to me is that if you take into account the J.P. Morgan suicidings, it shows you that something is going on in the financial districts, in the financial industry. The Hagmans have done put out some nice stuff on their home security. HomelandSecurityUS.com, I think, is the Hagmans. They put out some good stuff on there, and they just interviewed the guy who was leaking some of this financial news this past week. So you might want to, if you're interested in just the financial leaks and all that, you might want to follow up on the Hagman Show for that. So we got something going on in the system right now to where people are being suicided or committing suicide. If you know anything about the CIA, you know that they've papers in the past have shown that their favorite ways of killing people, one of them is to have them suicide themselves by falling off some high precipice, So, that's, who knows if somebody was actually there helping them to fall off things, or if some of these people are you don't know if they're programmed, like the Washington Navy Yard shooter was, looked like he had the elf technology affecting his mind. But you never know with these things. It's very hard to tell, what are the false flag events and what are real. And so right now, the big news going on in the world, of course, is the Ukrainian riot stuff. I don't know how much to put into that, other than it's a distraction from Syria, but it is the same players involved. It's the Russians and the U.S. Syria is the Russians' proxy. They support Russia. Syria does, Assad does, and Americans are pitted against Russia there. The Ukrainian situation is also a similar thing. It's a way of embarrassing the Russians during the Olympics by the United States. Probably it's back this. All you have to do, if you want to study this in depth, is look at color revolutions. You'll find people like George Soros who collapse currencies to make a killing. He was also one of these creeps that was who picked over the bodies in the Nazi concentration camps to take their goods off them and things like that, and sort the goods and the valuables before they got rid of incinerated the bodies. So that's George Soros, I don't know what to call him other than scum of the earth. But he's sitting here shorting the currency again, I guess. He's like double, tripling, quadrupling down on that the currency is going to go bust so he can make a killing. Usually when he does that, he's showing he's either being used by the elites that everybody's watching him, or he's going to profit from this also. I mean, it's not really something that can be stopped. The whole world is tied into the fiat currency of the U.S. dollar. And you can tell that the United States government hasn't been interested in balancing the budget or paying down debt or anything. And that's why they let Obama run up a $7 trillion deficit in just his term. Obama is just the puppet, what do you want to call him, an Antichrist wannabe. He's just some guy that has some genetic connection to the elite class through some rituals or whatever they did, whatever ceremony they got him from, whatever bloodline he comes from. Doesn't matter. They said, you want to play the bad guy? Sure, here's your role. Be a little Marxist communist, and go. Just say whatever you need to say in front of the cameras. You're a good liar. Just say it. What's on the teleprompter, and everybody will hate you and demand for your impeachment and whatever, and then we'll have you do something. They're either going to do assassination attempt, or they're going to do a straight out traitor treason thing where he does something that's so treasonous that it, whatever. They got some game plan. They got different scenarios for how to use Obama to bring down the U.S. So that's not that important. The main thing is getting saved. The next thing to do is you should prep right now. Now, some people say take out money, take out things like that. I say, use up pay your bills, but keep a higher cash reserve now. When you're cashing your checks, just don't automatically deposit the whole thing. Take out some right now, so that you do have some cash on hand. Things people start talking about bartering and all these kinds of things. Well, bartering and all those are illegal under executive orders. What people don't realize is they don't take it to the next level and go, well, this whole thing with executive orders, this continuity of government, this executive order stuff is all illegal under the Constitution. To go and seize people's property just because there's a crisis and you create the crisis, that's criminal, okay? But, you have all these constitutional lawyers like Obama and attorney generals like Eric Holder and whatever. All these guys, Bill Clinton, they all claim to be constitutional lawyers and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of gotten to the point where it's like if you're a Marxist or a criminal, it seems that you try to teach constitutional law to figure out how to destroy it. So, moving on from that, we're going to touch on a statement that Goldman Sachs has made regarding this new financial crisis, because most of the people who are saying that the wheels are coming off, it's related to the financial world. And I'll put this in a time frame for you in a second. It says the second most senior Goldman Sachs executive has warned the world risks sowing the seeds of the next financial crisis through regulation aimed at making banks safer. Gary Cohn, the global chief operating officer of the Wall Street Bank, today highlighted the risks of rules forcing banks to hold larger capital buffers so they can absorb bigger losses. Speaking in Sydney, Mr. Cohn said that in forcing banks to hold more capital, regulators risked encouraging the unregulated shadow banking sector, so it became the next problem. So whatever a shadow banking sector is, I don't know. These guys have been shady. The whole system is a Ponzi scheme, so whatever they mean by shadow banking. Tougher capital rules were also holding back jobs growth by choking off lending and restricting the bank's ability to trade in financial markets, he said, which is all garbage. That's just not true. They don't want to lend money. They're hoarding all the money that they got with the bailouts and all this stuff. They're trying to suppress the middle class. The very people who would invest money and make money and put people to work, they're suppressing the ability to access capital and grow things because they want to destroy it. This is the order out of chaos philosophy of these secret societies. They want to destroy the middle class because they're the last group that has any kind of wealth. And so this guy is just, he's doing his double speak stuff. He says we're almost in essence foreshadowing the next crisis. So here, I think sometimes these guys get a kick out of teasing the public. The next crisis is likely to be one of the three things that we're foreshadowing by what we are doing to banks. It'll either be a lack of economic growth and job creation, it's going to be a shadow banking crisis, whatever that means again, or it's going to be a liquidity crisis. Mr. Cohn, seen as potential next global boss of Goldman, said rule changes have already caused Europe's market to shift dramatically. Okay. While the continent had previously been dominated by bank lending, he said it had become a bifurcated market where lenders relied on the capital markets if they were strong enough, or shadow banks if not. Okay. I still don't get this whole shadow concept. I mean, what is this? Is the mafia lending money or something? He also had higher capital hurdles, had dragged down liquidity in markets for corporate bonds and shares to quite shocking levels. The consequence of financial regulation is set to be a key topic of discussion at this weekend's meeting of G20 finance ministers and central bankers in Sydney. This article is coming from today, February 21st. Sorry about that. The Sydney Morning Herald. Okay. The consequence, while Mr. Cohen's comments were focused on the global economy, big Australian banks lobby for capital rules to be watered down through the government's financial system inquiry. The Commonwealth Bank last week highlighted the trade-off between greater stability and economic growth, saying it should be examined by inquiry led by former CBA Chief David Murray. The chairman of Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, John Laker, dismissed calls for lighter capital rules, saying the local banks clearly have few problems accessing capital. Our major banks argue they face difficulties in explaining their financial strength to international investors. At first blush, it's hard to reconcile this concern with the recent stellar performance of our major banks, Dr. Laker said on Thursday. So the banks are doing well. They just won't lend the money, and they won't lend the money because everybody's hoarding it right now. All these criminals, all these rats in the Rothschild boats are all these main bankers up there. I will never know for sure how many of these multinational corporations and banks are actually fronts for just a handful of people. I mean, it would be interesting if you can know. Just probably everything that's multinational probably has less than 100 people that have access to controlling it, and they just have a bunch of front people, with different names, and they hide it so that. But it's kind of pointless at this time anyway. It's not like media actually does anything. They're bought and paid for, and they're just Barbies and. Ken dolls sitting up there just reading their teleprompters, hoping their paycheck clears. The big push after we get past this story is that there is basically a list of, some people think that the very important dates in American history that led to the situation that we're in. And I thought this was interesting, and I just wanted to just relay this to you just for public information that I think it's called the Dirty Dozen, and it says these are 12 key dates that Americans can point to in terms of pinpointing when America began to crumble. Okay, the first one they list is 1913. Of course, I think most people who do any research understand that the Federal Reserve was established in 1913. And I was there a couple years back at Jekyll Island, at the Jekyll Island Club, right there at the Federal Reserve door, the room where they did this deal in secret in 1913. And they had their little ticker tape line that ran between... I believe that point and in Europe, so that they were communicating as fast as they could communicate using their little underwater ticker tape connection. Well, that's a good sound for the founding of the Federal Reserve, old Zeus and his criminal activity. Let's see. In 1944, at Bretton Woods Agreement Conference, the United States totally surrendered its sovereignty to the forces of the Rothschild, Rockefeller banking forces by forcing the nations of the world to accept the dictates of centralized banking system. If you look into all these military campaigns that the United States has been involved in, going into Libya, going into Iraq or whatever, almost the first thing that they do is they set up a centralized bank. And what a centralized bank means is that they put up the assets of the country against the population. And so this was always the technique that Rothschilds used. There's just like the Federal Reserve Bank, where people like Lincoln, Kennedy, and Andrew Jackson fought the bankers. They wanted to print the notes, the Treasury notes with no interest, in the sense that the people wouldn't have to pay interest on their debt. But what the Rothschilds did was that they print out of thin air as much money as they want, and they charge they hold the entire population of that country as co-signers to the debt, even though they don't have any input into how much is borrowed or spent. The inevitable outcome of this kind of a Ponzi scheme system is that people will never be able to pay it off, and they're forced into debt, and that they're held as collateral. So the United States, the citizens of America, are held as collateral to these debts, and so is all our property. So we're, at the 17 trillion mark, we can't pay back our debt. So the bankers look at it as we can seize all the assets of the United States and divvy it up between the creditors. And this is where you get the talk about China coming into the Midwest and using the farmlands to grow crops for them. This is where you lose all your private property rights and all that. But at that point, it's not like at that point of things, the slaughter would have been so over the top during this tribulation period. People are just going to you're either in with Satan or you're slaughtered, and they're just going to do their blood sacrifice like these people have always done, like they did in any of the temples around the world. Where you have if you want to go down to the Chichen Itza and the Mayans and the Aztecs, that's what they do. If you're gonna follow the Quetzalcoatl or good old Lucifer, the serpent, you're gonna end up doing lots and lots of blood sacrifice. And the end game, in my point of view, is that the total destruction of all 46 chromosome humans. Okay. Which are the image bearers of God. He wants modified the DNA to where all that's left on this planet is his modified hybrids or transhumanists. If you study the Georgia Guidestones, you'll see it says 500 million people are supposed to be left. Well, those are the 500 million that are supposed to be servants to the elite class, the folks who are running this New World Order, or so they think. But the point is that 500 million doesn't mean that they have to be humans. It's probably going to be transhumanists. And you can see this alluded to in things like Star Wars, where they got these guys, I'm trying to remember what the scene was, but they had a scene where the one assistant to one of the main characters was a chipped android transhuman, and he just... So that's what they want. They want a slave class that's chipped, that's monitorable, that you can shut down. You can just do a kill switch on it if it gets out of control. It's going to be a hybrid of some sort. This is my logical, taking this to a logical conclusion, that Lucifer, when he's in charge, is going to do away with anybody that doesn't have his genetics as part of their DNA. This is where you get the mark of the beast. When you're talking about the mark of the beast, it's going to be more like a retrovirus that rewrites your DNA over time to where you have a beast DNA, which is no longer the 46 chromosome. It's going to be a third strand DNA that some people talk about. It's going to be a chimera. This is you're getting into a whole area where I would do this in a different show if we have time. Talking about the whole media's outlook for kids and teenagers and young adults into the whole superpowers arena. All the shows geared towards having superpowers, developing heightened powers, the super soldier powers. All this stuff is what they're alluding to as that if you just take this DNA or get this modified, then you're able to evolve into the next level of evolution, which is straight into hell, because people are just going to get fooled into thinking that they're evolving when they're actually taking the mark of the beast. So we had the centralized banking from the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. And it says in 1947, the NSA and CIA became operational and marked the birth of the National Police State Surveillance Grid. The CIA, an outgrowth of World War II spy organization, the OSS, became a permanent structure in the American landscape. Today, the CIA is a private corporation which operates as a prostitute for global banking interests, as they do not represent the United States. And I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with these alphabet agencies may have some people on the outer, lower rungs of it be legitimate, patriotic American citizens. But if you go into any of the black op inner workings of this thing, you're probably going to find Luciferians who are only working on behalf of the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. So all these nice little suicidings you have seen lately, it's always convenient how these things happen, you know. We just had 2 Navy SEALs found, what was it, today or yesterday, in I don't even understand this ship that is that Tom Hanks movie, I think, that made that Tom Hanks movie. What's the name of that thing called? I never wanted to see this movie because I just didn't. Captain something. The Tom Hanks movie about Captain such and such, where they're hijacked by Somali pirates or whatever. So they find 2 CIA operatives dead in there. SEALs dead in there yesterday. And they reported today that they died with needles in their arm of heroin overdose. They were using drugs. Yeah, that's convenient. Always these convenient deaths. SEALs, yeah. How many SEALs do you know that use heroin and operate as Navy SEALs? And they just happen to end up on some freighter ship somewhere that's used in some stupid movie. So, yeah, more of these convenient deaths. Let's see. In 1948, we witnessed the creation of the United Nations, UN, on land donated by the Rockefeller family, who are Satanists. This marked the beginning of the end of political sovereignty in the United States. Mark my words, when the gun confiscation troops come to your home, they will be UN blue-helmeted troops operating under the authority of UN Small Arms Treaty, which John Kerry recently and unconstitutionally signed without the required approval of the Senate. Certainly the creation of this agency and Agenda 21 has UN origins in this cancer upon America. Okay. So again, we got the United Nations. We've already talked about Alice Bailey in one of my earlier broadcasts about the Luciferian agenda, from Madame Blavatsky to Annie Besant to Alice Bailey, who directed Lucis Trust, who was the spiritual guide of the Ascended Masters, who influenced the UN, and Teilhard de Chardin, the Jesuit, romanticized Jesuit that probably was involved in the Piltdown Man hoax. So here we got these occultists leading the globe, and people always attacking it's almost too silly to even say the Christians or whatever when you got these Satanists running things. Let's see. So the 1960 election was primarily determined by the images on television. As the underdog, the charismatic JFK defeated the favorite Richard Nixon. Since that time, many Americans have been conditioned to ignore the encroachment of tyranny because of television and the subsequent propagandizing of this medium of communication. So we go by looks. So as long as we got tall, thin, laughing Obama, and you only get his jokes or whatever, and the crowd chuckling, the paid-for prostitute media will only play those parts. They will play their part in destroying his image, too. I mean, he is going to be sacrificed as they brought him in as the savior. They brought him in as the Messiah. And the brainwashed out there, and I already confessed that in 2008 I was not paying attention to the way things were, in the world at all. I was preoccupied with my life. And I voted for Obama out of character for me. But, I really did not want John McCain. And this guy said, well, we'll give him a chance if he's wants to. There's a lot of goodwill in the country towards him. And if he wants to include people and be a healer in the sense of divides and all that. But, I kind of knew better at the time, especially knowing the Saul Alinsky stuff. The Saul Alinsky stuff is just, Saul Alinsky, the simplest way to describe what he did is he taught people to come up from behind, like this knockout game people are playing. That's basically what Saul Alinsky does. Saul Alinsky comes and pops you in the head from out of nowhere, and then when you react to him, the guy points his finger at you taking a swing, and the whole crowd sees you taking a swing. So it's like the second person is getting caught in the act of doing something in reprisal to the sucker punch from the Saul Alinsky crowd. And the Saul Alinsky crowd, he dedicated his book to Lucifer, the original rebel. And so, these Luciferians, these Marxists, they're all Satanists. I mean, they got, May 1st? May 1st is their main holiday in Russia. And of course, that's the Beltane. That's the highest holy day in Satanism. So this stuff just garbage. Barack Obama, all these Marxist anarchists, they say they're atheists or they say they're whatever. It doesn't matter. Lucifer does not require you to believe in him as an entity. He doesn't care if you believe in him or not. The point is, once he's got your soul, that's all that matters. He just wants you to deny Christ. And what does every communist do? Every communist, when they do a communist takeover, they go straight after the churches and they go after the pastors who have influence in their community, and they kill them and all this. And then they retrain the little proxy pastors and pop them into the state-approved church to preach the state-approved message, So it's just garbage. And that's what Barack Obama represents. He represents the Marxist communists. The Bushes represented the fascist Nazis. That's the two parties you got operating together. Both of them were created by elites. Communism was created by the elites, and fascism was created by elites, all driven by occultism, both of them. So, let's see. In 1968, the United States became a nation that imported more than it exported, as Congress allowed corporations with impunity to relocate overseas for reasons of cheap labor and monopolistic price fixing. This trend continued through the free trade agreements until today. We have a mere 14% left of what was once our proud American manufacturing base. So, yes, here we got Congress sold us out. They've been selling us out. The free trade garbage that the Republicans are always pushing. They say free trade's good, and free trade's good in the sense that if you're not using slave labor. If you're shipping out your jobs from a decent, moral a group of people who are building up their communities, they're involved with educating their children, all this kind of stuff, there's a general quality of life that it was an American quality of life. It was more than just about the work. The money and the work had to have meaning so that the society could have meaning. And what these bums that called the Republicans have done is they've gone, we don't care if some kid in China or some slave somewhere gets a nickel a day. That's called free market. It's like, no, that's called slavery. You guys are doing nothing but the same thing that used to be the old triangle, that used to be the tobacco triangle, where you just run tobacco from this continent to that continent, and you pick up slaves at that continent and ship them over here. It's just nothing more than slavery. It's the same old thing over again. It's not free trade, it's slavery. You exploit these people. They're put in these sweat houses and whatever, and this is the only opportunities they have. Of course our jobs are going to disappear. You have to have some morals, which Washington definitely has no morals, and they're run by multinational corporations. And that's the definition of fascism. Fascists multinational corporations run things in Washington. That's how they make money. They make it off slavery. They don't care. Their stockholders don't care. They just want to see the numbers go up. And this is the point. You cannot operate this way and call yourself a moral nation. America is not moral because we allow slavery to exist throughout the world, because we allow our companies that operate outside our borders to use slave labor. So it's just garbage again. They're just, it's ridiculous. Anybody with any common sense knows that if you actually want to do this American way talk and talk about I'm proud to be American and do your country music garbage and talk about being a proud patriot and all this stuff, you don't support slavery, you don't support fascists, you don't support communists or tyrants or whatever. But the CIA, if you find the CIA, it's like right now what we're dealing with. We're dealing with talking tough to Iran, that Israel's got to go and blow up Iran. Well, I wish the news would sit there and go, well, let's see, Iran had a democratically chosen government back in the 1950s, with the CIA destroyed through a coup and put in the Shah of Iran. And you wonder why the Iranians have bad feelings towards us when they were doing nothing against the United States, and all of a sudden the United States shows up through the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or whoever was running that outfit to put in their little strongman so they can cut their little gas deals or oil deals or whatever they wanted to exploit from that country. So the point is that, if we were to clean house like we should have and been a moral and a government that runs with morality. But of course, you can take this all the way back that Lucifer is has dominion over the kingdoms of this earth. And we have to, as Christians, deal in this environment for the time we're here. And right now we're staring at the end times, and we're staring at basically weeks before there's if you listen to these jerks at the Olympics and stuff calling about this is the year of transformation, and you look at the Super Bowl with the prepare logos and flashing prepare and the military stuff with the the military insignia, and prepare for war, prepare for collapse, prepare for everything. So they're doing their little magic, their Kabbalistic magic, talking about it's the end of the world as we know it in the United States. And that's what we're talking about today. So with that, I'm going to take a little break here with my favorite gag election that I seem to enjoy hearing over and over, because it's the real world, the fake matrix world of elections. And if they could talk honestly, this is what they would sound like.
Moving on. If you planned on following the presidential election in November, you might want to plug your ears. A big election spoiler is coming up. A minor software glitch at the Diebold Corporation today caused thousands of electronic voting machines to accidentally release the results of the presidential election months ahead of schedule. According to the group of military and corporate leaders that has chosen every American president since Eisenhower, Diebold's mistake marks the first time the nation's leader has been revealed prematurely.
I don't even know if I can enjoy the sham election now that I know who's going to win.
If you can't trust your shadowy overlords to keep a secret, what is the purpose, really, of voting in the puppet democracy?
I'm fine with it. He was going to get my meaningless vote anyway.
Despite the leak, all of the presidential candidates have so far said they'll continue their campaigns.
Newt Gingrich isn't about to give up just because he lost the election. He'll give up when he's supposed to on election day. And he'll act surprised.
Joining us now to talk about the leaked results is Diebold PR spokesman Ernie Kenilworth. Mr. Kenilworth, this was quite a mistake.
And we at Diebold would like to formally apologize to all of our shadowy puppet masters. This will not happen again. Please have mercy on us.
Do you think that people will still even vote in this election?
We certainly hope they will. This country is based on the fantasy that the government is the voice of the people. Going through the motions of voting and keeping the kingmakers' dealing secret is central to our culture.
Why do we need electronic voting machines in the first place? They're just not as reliable as our cloaked masters, no matter how good the software gets.
Well, I understand people's concerns, but from now on, we at Diebold will see to it that we properly safeguard the illusion of democracy, the illusion of democracy, the illusion of democracy, the illusion of democracy, the illusion of democracy for all Americans.
Well, let's hope so. So, for those of us who will watch, what can we expect on election night?
Oh, the same great show that you have always seen. We will be pretending to count votes, pretending to count votes, pretending to count votes, pretending to count votes, and we will be running an ongoing total throughout the night.
But wouldn't it be possible for them to just choose a different president so that we'll still have that same great surprise?
No, I don't think so. However, that does not rule out the possibility for a staged assassination, after the president has been placed in office.
Oh, I take it that's a hint.
You won't get anything else out of me today, Gina. I've already said too much. I've already said too much. I've already said too much.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us, Mr. Kenilworth.
Okay. Going back to our Dirty Dozen list, number 8, I'll go through these a little bit more rapidly, and we'll move on to what I'll finish up with today. Number 8, on September 11, 2001, the National Police State Surveillance Grid reached maturity. This event created, under the guise of national security, the American Stasi, the Department of Homeland Security. It has also created the Patriot Acts, in which every communication that we engage in is monitored, but only for our own protection, of course. This event also gave license to blue uniform, pot-bellied perverts to commit sexual assault upon the American traveling public through the creation of the TSA. It also gave rise to the prominence of FEMA to control every resource, every asset, and even our freedom. Okay, number 9. So that was the Patriot Act and the Bush and their great New World Order takeover. I think a lot of people don't really understand what those two towers represent. This was a Masonic Freemason cult ritual that you witnessed. I did an article on twclark66.wordpress.com where I basically said 9/11 is occult terrorism. And I haven't seen anybody else write about occult terrorists in the United States. But I go through all the fingerprints of occult terrorism and then what makes it a cult. And so the point is that the two towers were the Jachin and Boaz of Freemasonry. They're two pillars. Those two pillars represent basically that comes from the, I believe the term was pillars of knowledge, that were the post-Noah's flood pillars that the Nephilim giants and hybrids had left the fallen angel technology inscripted on these pillars. So that after the flood was over, that people could come across it and have access to the fallen angel technology or the fallen angel mysteries. This is where you get all the creation of the mystery schools comes from this knowledge and tuning people back into Lucifer and getting that whole system going again. So by destroying the two pillars and erecting a third pillar, that is the completion of the Freemason objective. It was the perfection of man, where man through knowledge will evolve from a primitive state, a crude state, a profane state, into knowledge, and that through this ever escalation of knowledge, man will become perfected. And then through this perfection, he eventually attains godhood. And you can see that with George Washington. If you want to look up the picture of the Capitol building it's called the Apotheosis of George Washington. It shows him as a Mason obtaining godhood in the heavens through his Masonic passage. So they're showing George Washington becoming a god, which is a Masonic thing. It's a Garden of Eden thing where we can all become gods that was told to Eve. Freemasons are just, it's the same thing. There's no difference. It's just this organization with the Luciferian doctrine from the two pillars of knowledge. So the One World Trade Tower that we have now, or Freedom Tower it's called, that is actually a hermetic design. Hermeticism just means above, as above, so below, which is whatever is in the heavens. If you build it on the earth, you will have the powers from that. You'll have the power emanating into that structure. So it's a way of taking the heavens and bringing it down on earth. And the Luciferians, that's what they want. They want to be gods here on earth. They want to defeat the return of Christ at Armageddon and become their own gods and serve no master other than Lucifer. And of course, Lucifer, when he's had his way with them, there won't be any of them anyways. So I don't think people understand that. The Freedom Tower is a as above, so below symbol with all kinds of occult symbolism all through it, and then even on the spire it has all kinds of runes and things all over it. It's, for a country that says separation of church and state, they only mean Christians. Okay, they don't have any problem with building satanic occult junk into everything that they put up. So. You won't hear that complaint coming from Fox. So we got George Bush and the police state being implemented from his daddy Bush, bringing in their Nazi Stasi. Then we have number 9 in 2008. This nation elected Obama to the presidency despite serious questions regarding his true nationality, his stunning lack of political experience, and his decided lack of devotion to constitutional ideals emanating from the days of his community activism, and his subsequent mentoring and support from former weathermen, underground leaders Bill Ayers and Bernardine Dorn. Can anyone name even one thing that this president has accomplished on behalf of the American people? Please just name one thing. That is what I thought, So yes, you have a president that nobody knows his real origins, or, there's plenty of people who die that have any dirt on this guy. And here you got terrorists, American terrorists, or his buddies who are his mentors, and he's just part of this. He's playing the devil character because they gave him the name Barack, which means lightning falls, and all Christians and stuff thought that he was going to be the Antichrist because he was written and created to script the Antichrist. All these staged events. I believe even the one where the guy is yelling in his audience that you're the Antichrist. I think that was. Proven to be one of his staffers or something like that. So they're just trying to stage these events to promote the image of him as Antichrist, to direct the attention away from who the real Antichrist will be. And the people are not biblically aware of things related to the Antichrist, and in the sense of they don't have a lot of biblical knowledge. So they see somebody operating like this who is clearly anti-Christian, clearly violates. He has an antichrist spirit. Okay, you can have lots of leaders through history have antichrist spirits. Hitler was an antichrist spirit, and at the time people thought he was the antichrist, and he actually wanted to be the antichrist, but he wasn't the antichrist. He was a forerunner of the final antichrist. And you got all these other ones too in history of different Nero, different ones that different Roman Caesars and Alexander the Great, Napoleon. They all were Antichrist types. So we have him just being this. The best term I've heard for Barack Obama, other than traitor, is that he is the forerunner of the Antichrist, which would be like, they call him the Illuminati's John the Baptist. And I think that's the most appropriate title for Barack Obama. He's the forerunner of the Messiah, of the Antichrist Messiah. Okay, so we have the Barack Obama thing, and then number 10 in 2010 we have the establishment, where it says America committed economic suicide through the passage and eventual administration of Obamacare. Obamacare will not only lead to premature deaths of millions of Americans through the denial of medical services and deference to corporate profits, it will eventually lead to the economic death of the nation through the destruction of small business, the backbone of America, through mandated medical care coverage for employees of small businesses. This set into motion that our biggest employer, small business, was going to fail in large numbers. In 2011, the United States blew up this is number 11. In 2011, the United States blew up the United States Constitution when Congress passed the National Defense Authorization Act. And this basically was the nail in the coffin for people who understand liberty, understand freedom. This obliterated all civil liberties because this marked the day that our government became the Gestapo. The Stasi and the KGB all rolled into one government. Any government that can imprison and indefinitely detain its citizens without due process of law is an unmasked dictatorship which has genocidal intentions waiting in the wings. And that's what all these FEMA camps are for. They're either going to be for, I think this is a post, the FEMA camp situation is a martial law situation. Through whatever means that they do to get it there, with the collapse in the financial markets, then they're just going to have a lot of different chaos, a lot of contrived events coming together to create a total collapse of the system. Then through martial law, they can exterminate the people that are going to be problems. They can chip the people that are going to follow the beast. And they can they can blood sacrifice the rest of them and cleanse the earth. And this is something that people don't understand. If you study Nazis, if you study the Nazi roots, there is a movement within the Nazis that was called, I can't pronounce the actual name, but the movement was built around the concepts of blood and soil. It meant that there were SS troops who actually, through the burning of the Jews in the concentration camps, used their ashes as they fled from the Allies to spread. They dumped the ashes and stuff across Germany as a renewal, like sacrifice for some kind of. These are strange satanic rituals about purifying the soil through blood sacrifice. I think this is something that's not really talked about much, and not many people in the Christian arena know much about this kind of thing. But it's definitely going to be part of the New World Order, the extermination and of everybody who will not go along with it. There will be people who, of course, will not follow Christ, but will be in the tribulation period. That will be against the New World Order. They'll be exterminated too, in the sense that whoever does not go along with the mark of the beast system. And so that brings us to the number 12. The 12th and final date from 1870 to present contains the date the Rockefeller Standard Oil set into motion the creation of the American corporatocracy, in which corporations, not citizens, run the government of the United States. So that, during the Reconstruction period, which was post-Civil War, the Civil War ended in 1865. Here you got these carpetbaggers and everybody plundering down in the South, scamming and things like that. But you also have the hijacking of America, with the Rockefellers being the front men for the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds were very much involved with. If you study Andrew Jackson and just the number of assassination attempts on him, those are the Rothschilds and their agents trying to knock off Andrew Jackson. It's quite an interesting story. I know that. Let's see. Glenn Beck always has really nasty things to say about Andrew Jackson, and he may not have been a good, a good character as far as what he did to the Cherokee people. But the point that I found interesting was that he was in a mortal war with the bankers, and that he was trying to keep them out of government so that the people could remain free. And I've heard Beck before. This is a criticism of him. I've heard him live where somebody would bring up talking about the Rothschilds, and he just would blatantly just laugh his head off at them. And, be really just totally disrespectful when the people are just totally quoting accurate facts. And, but, he's one of these guys I totally think is a total plant where he'll do partial truth and then mix it with deception. All I got to say is that anybody knows history and knows what he avoids and what he stays away from, he just convicts himself, basically, that he's not completely truthful. So that is the 12 points that got us to where we are. And this is, I'm going to wrap up today with where this is the close to the end of February here. We're at the 21st today of February. And what we're looking at is we got this financial collapse coming. We got, and some think it starts in March. I thought it would start in April. But it really doesn't matter. It's a really short period of time. That's why we talked about preparing now spiritually. You want to, if you can, get a month's worth of food for your family in your house. The point being, you don't want to go out on the streets if there's a financial collapse where the debit cards don't work, or you can't fill up with gas, or you can't go shopping, because people just start freaking. They've been raised on Grand Theft Auto. All these teenagers and young adults who have been raised on Grand Theft Auto. And they did this on purpose to get a chaotic population out there, that you got a Hunger Games. These are all programs to program people into rioting and to betraying people. If you watch that show on TV that was called Survivor, it was all about making alliances and backstabbing the people to survive. So all the mental subconscious images that I've seen put out there are trust no one, which is a very prominent theme in all these TV shows right now. Trust no one. You can't trust anybody. Totally destroys your neighborhood, totally destroys your community, and it totally allows for the breakdown of society. And then, of course, the Hunger Games was that you got to go out and kill to survive. And that's what they've been training our kids, which is total satanic child abuse. But that's what these bums do. Okay, the last part we're going to finish up today. Why is America being destroyed? And this is the main reason that America is going to be destroyed. What you have to focus on, like I've always said, is that you have to focus on the Israel and our involvement in Israel, because Israel is the timepiece of history, and that's the way God set it up. Okay, you don't have to don't get caught up on the Jewish anti-Semitism or any of those kinds of things. It's a big mistake to get sucked into that anti-Semitism thing, even if you got evil Rothschilds and Rockefellers and people like that who, have all these secret, whatever their genetic backgrounds are. They're Satanists, and that's the point. Christ is going to deal with these Satanists. He's going to take revenge on them for everybody. So here's John Kerry, member of the Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones, of course, only dedicated to bringing in the New World Order. He's on a timetable. He almost got the rabbis to curse him a couple weeks ago because they're saying that they were comparing him to Haman, which is one of the worst threats to the Jewish population before Hitler. back under the let's see, which empire was that? It's either the Assyrians or I'm trying to remember who Esther married. I'm drawing a blank on it right now. Sorry about that. So out of Tel Aviv, Israel, it says, it is pretty clear now that Secretary of State John Kerry will either be Israel's diplomatic salvation or the most dangerous diplomatic fanatic that Israel has ever encountered. But there isn't much room anymore for anything in between. Get that point. This is one of those rare pay-per-view foreign policy moments. Pull up a chair. You don't see this every day. In essence, what Kerry is daring to test is a question everyone has wanted to avoid. Is the situation between Israelis and Palestinians at 5 minutes to midnight or 5 minutes after midnight or even 1 a.m. beyond diplomacy? That is, has Israel become so much more powerful than its neighbors that a symmetrical negotiation is impossible? Especially when the Palestinians do not seem willing to or able to mount another intifada that might force Israel to withdraw. Has the neighborhood around Israel become so much more unstable than any Israeli withdrawal from anywhere is unthinkable? Has the number of Israeli Jews now living in eastern Jerusalem and the West Bank become so much larger, more than 540,000, that they are immovable? And has the Palestinian rhetoric on the right of return become so deeply embedded in Palestinian policies? So when you add them up, it becomes a fantasy to expect any Israeli or Palestinian leader to have the strength to make the huge concessions needed for a two-state solution. President Barack Obama is letting Kerry test all this. Okay, of course he is, because his administration is about destruction for us all. So, anything that is bad for the United States, he's for it. And so, and I'll get to that point in a second. The Kerry plan, likely to be unveiled soon, is expected to call for an end to conflict in all claims, following a phased Israeli withdrawal from West Bank, the 67 lines, which with unprecedented security arrangements in the strategic Jordan Valley. The Israelis' withdrawal will not include certain settlement blocks, but Israel will compensate the Palestinians for them with Israeli territory. It will call for the Palestinians to have a capital in Arab East Jerusalem. 1 second, please. Voice is wearing out there. Okay, so Kerry expects and hopes that both Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Mahmoud Abbas will declare that despite the reservations about one or another element in the U.S. framework, they will use it as a basis for further negotiations. Now, this plan was given a time limit of April 29th. This is February 21st. We have the blood moons arriving April 15th. We have a potential collapse in the financial arena within March and April. So you have an enormous amount of chaos. And what I find interesting is that if you go along, and I just printed out a little printout, that if you look up satanic holidays, list of satanic holidays, let's see, April 26th through the 1st is called the Grand Climax and has lots of sexual activity going on during those dates. April 30th is called Walpurgisnacht Rudmas Day. It's a blood sacrifice day. And it's also called Beltane Eve, often celebrated with a festival that includes bonfires and fertility rites, Greatest Witches Sabbat. May 1st is Beltane. So right here you got like serious, it's like a satanic festival week here going on right during the supposedly the deadlines for this two-state solution. So they're looking at the 29th. We got stuff going from the 26th to May 1st, which is like the high holy day for them, is the Beltane satanic holiday. So we got lots of rituals and rites going on here. I find it always interesting that a lot of these things coincide with satanic holidays. So why will America be destroyed? America will be destroyed because we are violating the Old Testament covenants. The land that was given to Israel was given to them by God, Yahweh, the Creator. And any country or any people that get into trying to push the Israelis out of that land, the Holy Land, or try to through hook or crook deception, try to cause the Jews, the Israelis, to be destroyed by deceptive means, are always punished when you look at the biblical history of Israel and the Holy Land. And so we got these Washington, these Luciferians running things in Washington, directly violating the Bible, representing the United States as a country that is very much poised to divide the land of Israel. So we will be judged as a nation. The Gentile world is always judged for the way that they treat Israel in the sense of the Old Testament covenants. So we have a president who's he's going to do everything to destroy America that he can, and he knows that in his office and the people who put them, the CIA, the Rothschild, Rockefeller gang, the bankers, the Satanists, the Luciferians, whatever you want to call them, it doesn't really matter. They all serve the same guy. They have put us in a position where the wrath of God is going to be directly poured out on America for our dividing the nation of Israel into two parts. Okay? So there's no way around this point. Our leadership is thumbing their nose in the face of God on purpose to bring down wrath on our country. And that's where we are today. This is why you need to get prepared, because that's 2 months away. We'll probably have a lot of hiccups between now and then with I'm thinking that we're going to see some kind of Syrian involvement. Obama and all of them have committed to going back into Syria without our approval, of course. They're not going to listen to anything the American public's going to say. Therefore, getting us into a reprisal situation with the Russians or the Chinese. We are probably involved through the CIA in another one of these color revolutions over there in Kiev, the Ukraine. That fits right with the George Soros color revolutions, which are staged events, which the media follows and acts like they're real, grassroots revolutions. I've written some articles on revolutionaries. You never want to go with the revolutionaries because the elites are the ones who usually create the revolutionaries. So you don't want to go that way. You want to go with Christ alone. Pray for peace. Pray for Christ's return. Pray for justice to be dealt on the folks that are doing evil. Get yourself saved. It's time's running out. And who knows how many more broadcasts we'll have, because the last I'll just make a brief mention of it, but it said the FCC wades into the newsroom. The Obama administration is basically saying that we need to have government monitors in all the newsrooms, which is a total joke. They already own the newsrooms. They just play this Hegelian game of right and left. But what they're really after is eventually the internet and getting people like me off the internet and other people who want to talk about freedom. And that's why we like Freedom Talk Radio, because we can talk openly about things without being censored, which was an American right. And that is what we keep going for. I hope this has blessed you. Get saved, prepare that way, get a month's worth of, pop can supplies that you can eat right out of the can if you need to. Water's more important than anything else. I'm not, have some dollar reserves at home if you can. But I don't, the point is, once they go martial law, it's like all bets are off. They can do whatever they want anyways. But, I'm just saying this so that you're ready. Hopefully we get I'm counting on the rapture of the church, and we'll talk about that in another time. But, it's been great talking to you today. Hopefully I was able to clue some people in and get you to unplug from the Matrix. So you have a great day, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye.
freedomtalkradio.co.uk.
Let's go!
This is the most diverse, most amazing, one of the funniest radio stations you could ever listen to on the internet. I've heard so much stuff from the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights.
The politics, the non-politics, the schmolitics, whatever you want to call them.
It's great.